evening. It is Wednesday, March 1st, 2017, and I'm going to call to order the Ottawa City Commission regular meeting. Could we please have the roll call?
Yes. Mayor Kaler.
Present.
Commissioner Reed.
Present.
Commissioner Graves.
Present.
Commissioner Jorgensen.
Present.
Commissioner Skidmore.
Present.
I'd like to welcome those that are here in the audience today and those that may watch through another form of technology. We welcome you and are glad you're part of the process. We will begin today with the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the invocation, which will be led by Mrs. Lee. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you'll bow with me. Father God, thank you for this day. You have blessed us in this room, in this community, in this county, in this state, and in this country in so many ways that we so often take for granted, whether it's our freedom to speak, our freedom to worship, our freedom to do so many things with and around each other that many in other parts of the world don't have those freedoms. We thank you for each of those things, as well as the blessings of our homes, our families, our work. And tonight we ask a special blessing upon those leaders of our community and the City Commission, as well as the other elected leaders in our community. Thank you, too, for those who work for the city, who work shifts and long hours to see to it that as many amenities as can be provided to the citizens are. Thank you for each person in the room, their energy. Help us all to continue to find joy, even in the difficult moments. May all the praise and glory be yours. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mrs. Lee. Next, that moves us on to the consent agenda, which includes minutes from the February 13th study session, February 15th regular meeting, February 16th special call joint city-county commission meeting, and February 20th 2017 study session, and an approval of a new library board member. Is there a motion to approve that consent agenda?
Madam Mayor, I'll make that motion. We approve the consent agenda tonight.
It's been moved that we approve the consent agenda. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, that moves us on to the regular agenda, which always begins with public comment. Do we have individuals that have registered for public comment today?
None today.
Okay, then we will not read that paragraph. However, we will invite anybody to please come and address the City Commission at any one of our meetings, either our regular meeting or our study session. We always want to hear from the public, so please feel free to come forward and talk to us. Next, declaration. At this time, I'd like to give commissioners a chance to declare any conflict or communication that they may have had that would influence their ability to consider today's issues impartially. Commissioners? Seeing none, we will move forward. Under new business.
Proclamation recognizing March 18th, 2017 as National Quilters Day.
In 1989, the Kentucky Heritage Quilt Society organized a Quilters Day Out on the third Saturday of March to celebrate the rich tradition of quilt making. To commemorate this day, we will proclaim March 18, 2017 as Quilters Day in the city of Ottawa, Kansas. Gloria Music, president of the Sunflower Peacemaker Quilt Guild, will accept this proclamation, and the proclamation will be read by Commissioner Graves this evening.
The proclamation reads as follows. Whereas in 1989, the Kentucky Heritage Quilt Society organized a Quilters Day Out on the third Saturday of March to celebrate the rich tradition of quilt making, and whereas, encouraged by the enthusiasm generated by the Kentucky effort, the National Quilters Association voted to take Quilters Day Out to a national level, and whereas, even in the first year of National Quilting Day, quilters from other countries asked to participate, and whereas, since 1992, National Quilting Day has grown into a global celebration for all quilt makers and quilt lovers. And whereas, quilters everywhere are encouraged to hold special events to recognize the art and beauty of this most noble heritage most noble of heritage crafts. And whereas the art and craft of quilting is a vibrant activity within the Ottawa Franklin County community. Now, therefore, the governing body of the City of Ottawa, Kansas does hereby proclaim March 18th, 2017 as Quilters Day in the City of Ottawa, Kansas, and urges all citizens to join in celebrating this time-honored craft. Signed this first day of March 2017 by our Mayor, Sarah Kaler.
Okay, perfect. Would you like to come up and receive this proclamation? We'd love to give it to you. Come on up. We're going to snap a picture. We're going to look right this way. All right, awesome. We'd love to hear from you.
Okay, on behalf of the Sunflower Peacemakers Quilt Guild, I want to thank the City Commission for making this proclamation honoring National Quilting Day. Sunflower Peacemakers were established in 1984 and is dedicated to promoting the art and craft of quilting. Quilting's become much more than your grandmother using up her fabric scraps to making utilitarian blankets for her family's beds. The most recent national survey, which is done every 4 years, was in 2014. At that time, $3.76 billion were spent annually on items related to quilts and quilting. The survey by Quilting in America reported that there are more than 16 million active quilters in this country. That's 1 out of every 20 Americans. Of these, over 12% are classified as dedicated quilters. The demographics of this group indicate they are female, in their 60s, well-educated, 79% have gone to college. They have household incomes in excess of $100,000 and have been quilting for more than 20 years. Among these, 81% are traditional quilters. 35 embrace the art quilting, and 35% enjoy modern quilting styles. Most of them like a mixture of all three. Today's dedicated quilter owns, on the average, almost $13,000 worth of tools and supplies, and has a stash of fabric worth nearly $6,000. The majority, 88%, store these in a studio or a room dedicated to sewing and quilting activities. Today's quilters are also tech savvy, and they spend over 3.5 hours a week watching quilt-related tutorials online, getting inspiration, purchasing fabric and or tools and supplies, and searching for free patterns. To celebrate National Quilting Day last year, our guild made bibs, burp cloths, and receiving blankets, which were presented to the ECAN representatives at our March meeting. In the last year or two, we've also made and donated child-sized quilts to Head Start and 43 lap-sized fidget quilts, which were given to the East Kansas Aging and Disability Services for Franklin County dementia and Alzheimer's patients. This year, for National Quilting Day, we're gathering to make drawstring bags to be given to the Franklin County Detention Center. To go in these bags, we will supply small blankets and personal hygiene items. Locally, Sunflower Peacemakers is a very active group. Our annual quilt show and miniature quilt auction is held in September in conjunction with the Power of the Past tractor show. Portions of the proceeds from our auction are given to the Franklin County Historical Society and are used to purchase acid-free storage supplies for the textiles in their collection, as well as other needs. We also actively support the Franklin County Visitors Information Center by providing sponsorship for the Franklin County Quilt Block Barn Tour. This center curates a monthly quilt display provided by our guild members at the Visitors Information Center. It provides enjoyment not only for local residents, but visitors from all over the United States who visit the center. Many of our guild members are also volunteers there. Our guild meets on the third Monday evening of each month at 7 p.m. at Westminster Presbyterian Church. And after a short business meeting, we enjoy show and tell of our members' latest creations, and then a guest speaker presents a program to give us even more inspiration for our next creation. We have fun exploring, sharing, and learning more about our passion. We welcome anyone interested to visit us and learn more about the quilting culture. And again, we do thank you for your support.
Thank you so much. I don't even know how you top that. That's some great statistics, right? And you are dedicated. You are a dedicated group. I have been blessed to be asked to come and talk to your group before, and I was impressed. So thank you so much for sharing so much about what you're passionate about. Next, that moves us to item 12 on the agenda.
A proclamation recognizing March 2017 as March for Meals Month.
Meals on Wheels America established the National March for Meals campaign in March 2002 to recognize the historic month, the importance of older Americans action nutritional programs, and to raise awareness about the escalating problem of senior hunger in America. Martha Hagedorn, I'm going to get it wrong, and I'm sorry if I did, Kraus, Executive Director of the Mid-America Nutrition Program, will accept this proclamation, and the proclamation will be read by Mayor Pro Tem Reed.
And the proclamation reads as follows. Whereas on March 22, 1972, President Richard Nixon signed into law a measure that amended the Older Americans Act of 1965 and established a national nutrition program for seniors 60 years and older. Whereas Meals on Wheels America established the National March for Meals campaign in March 2002 to recognize the historic month, the importance of Older Americans Act nutrition programs, both congregate and home delivered, and raise awareness about the escalating problem of senior hunger in America. Whereas the 2017 observance of the March for Meals campaign provides an opportunity to support Meals on Wheels program that delivers vital and critical services by donating, volunteering, and raising awareness about senior hunger and isolation. Whereas Older Americans Act nutrition programs, both congregate and home delivered in Kansas, have served our communities admirably for more than 40 years. And whereas volunteer drivers for Meals on Wheels program in Kansas are the backbone of the program, and they not only deliver nutritious meals to homebound seniors and individuals with disabilities, but also caring concern and attention to their welfare. Whereas Meals on Wheels programs in Kansas provide nutritious meals to seniors throughout the state and help them maintain their health and independence and avoid unnecessary hospitalizations and/or premature institutionalization. Whereas Meals on Wheels programs in Kansas provide a powerful socialization opportunity for millions of seniors to help combat loneliness and isolation. Whereas Meals on Wheels programs in Kansas deserve recognition for the contributions they have made and will continue to make to local communities, to our state, and our nation. And now, therefore, the governing body of the City of Ottawa, Kansas, does hereby proclaim March 2017 as March for Meals Month. We urge every citizen to take time this month to honor our Meals on Wheels programs, the seniors they serve, and the volunteers who care for them. Our recognition of and involvement in the National 2017 March for Meals campaign can enrich our entire community and help combat senior hunger and isolation in America. Signed the first day of March by our Mayor, Sarah Kaler.
Perfect. Martha, would you like to come forward? We'd love to give this to you and hear from you. This is the point where we have to take the picture. Yes, we'll shake. Take the picture. Excellent. Thank you. Please. We'd love to hear from you.
It's really nice to be on the agenda in Ottawa for the March on Meals Month proclamation. As most of you know, we have two senior sites for nutrition in Ottawa, at Washburn Towers and also at Sunflower Plaza. We work with 6 counties, so our meal counts are county-based, and I can tell you that in Franklin County, we served 52,000 meals last year to about 500 people. And over the past 4 years, we're seeing the trend rise every year by a couple thousand people. And of course, most of the population in Franklin County is in Ottawa. We're very appreciative of the community's support. And again, thank you for recognizing March for Meals Month.
Perfect, thank you. Next item on the agenda, please.
A proclamation recognizing March 6th through 10th, 2017 as Flood Safety Awareness Week.
This proclamation is intended to raise awareness of the importance of preparing and understanding flooding in Kansas. Michael Hafley, our Public Works Director, will accept this proclamation, which will be read by Commissioner Skidmore.
Sure. It's hard to imagine flood safety being a concern right now, as dry as we are, but we all know that a California 5-year drought suddenly ended a couple weeks ago with the flood, so it can happen here and it can happen there, anywhere. So proclamation reads as follows. Whereas Flood Safety Awareness Week is an opportunity to raise awareness about the importance of preparing for and understanding flooding in Kansas, and to encourage all citizens to better prepare their homes, businesses, and communities for the upcoming flood season. And whereas the Kansas Hazard Mitigation Plan identifies flooding as one of the costliest types of natural disasters in Kansas in terms of lives lost, injury, and property damage. And whereas flood threatens people, homes, and other property in every county in Kansas. And whereas floods can happen anytime, anywhere, and without warning. And whereas damage from a flood is not normally covered under a standard homeowner's insurance policy. And whereas spring and summer flooding in 2013, 2015, and just last year, 2016, saw 5 flood deaths in Kansas and widespread flooding across the state. And whereas the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration's National Weather Service will initiate Severe Weather Awareness Week on March 6th. Now therefore, the governing body of the City of Ottawa does hereby proclaim March 6th through 10th, 2017 as Flood Safety Awareness Week in Ottawa, Kansas, and urges all citizens to recognize this observance, signed the first day of March 2017 by our Mayor, Sarah Kaler.
Mr. Hafley? Come up, shake my hand, let's take a picture. Awesome, good to hear from you.
Well, thank you, Mayor and Commissioners, for this proclamation. It's with winter coming to a close and spring just around the corner, we all know that flooding happens mostly in the springtime. And I do want to point out that floodwaters are not a playground. Don't let your kids play in there. It's very dangerous. Floodwaters are unforgiving, and floodwater has no mercy for anybody. So there's also dangers of bacteria in that water and everything else. So thank you.
All right, thank you. That moves us on to the next item on the agenda.
Presentation of check to ECAN for cities combating hunger through after-school and summer meal programs, CHAMPS.
This is a problem for our city. The National League of Cities, in partnership with the Food Research and Action Center, has selected Ottawa as one of 31 cities that will receive technical assistance and grant funding as a part of an initiative in Alabama, California, and Kansas. Remember, 31 cities in those 3 states, to reduce childhood hunger by expanding participation in the federally funded after-school and summer meal program. The City of Ottawa received $15,000 for this program, and Richard Jackson will be here to accept this check. Please come up, Mr. Jackson. Before I give you this check, would you like to have the mic for just a second to kind of explain to us? I know we've talked about this a little bit already, but I don't think we can highlight enough the importance of what this actually can do for our citizens, including our youngest citizens.
Yes, it's first of all, I want to thank the city for being a willing partner with us, and I think that speaks well for the city and their commitment to the youth of our community, and it affords us the opportunity to work with you as we find ways to promote the summer feeding program to allow more kids to have a meal during the course of the summer while they're off from school, and also to expand the after school program. There is a need in our community. We don't paint it as a program for low income individuals, because it's more than that. Anybody can participate. The summer program we call Lunch Fund, so we don't stigmatize that. So we'll be working with you in finding ways to increase the participation. I know one of the things that we'll be doing is we'll be asking you collectively or individually to come and help serve a meal, help come and meet with our young people. The fire department has done that in the past, the police chief, and I think that's good. The kids get to see you in a different light. They hear about you, they hear your name, but not quite sure what you do, and really don't see you. So it gets an opportunity to put a name with a face, and I think together we can improve both of those programs that benefit our community.
Perfect. We'd like to give you a commemorative check. We're not going to suggest that you take it to the bank. However, if you do, please take somebody with you so we can get a picture of the teller laughing when you hand it to them. Yeah, sure, I'll go. There you go. I think that you should use that check to leverage additional donations.
That's a good idea.
Yes.
We'll get 15 start, and we get somebody to match it.
Absolutely.
We'll have next year's funding.
There you go. And more kids will have happier tummies, which is the most important part about it.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Next, that moves us on to item 15 on the agenda.
Request for approval of ordinance authorizing the issuance of general obligation bonds.
Issuance of these bonds is not to exceed $3,500,000 to pay the cost of certain improvements to the city's electric and water systems pursuant to Charter Ordinance Number 1807 of the City of Ottawa. And today we have Scott Bird who will address us, and then somebody I must apologize to, Mr. Arterberry. David Arterberry is here, and for misclassifying his name on Monday, and Mr. Tyler Ellsworth will help us explain it too.
If it pleases the commission, I'd like to cover items 15, 16, and 17 kind of in one synopsis here because
Sure.
they all tie together. Item 15 is an ordinance that provides authority to issue $2,500,000 of electric improvements and $2,500,000 and $1 million of water system improvements for a total of $3.5 million of general obligation bonds with a 10-year payout. The next item, item 16, is a resolution that provides for the issuance of $1.5 million of general obligation bonds, again with a 10-year payout. The third item, that is item 17 on our agenda this evening, is a resolution authorizing the sale for a total of $5 million. That's the total of those first two items, 3.5 and the 1.5. $5 million of general obligation bonds for extending the city's water, sewer, and electric infrastructure into our Rock Creek Development Park. This is a first step, and I want to emphasize that this is a first step of getting our utilities into that park. I've also visited with the utility director, Dennis Tharp. He's going to give you a little bit more information about that before we go on. Before I do that, I should mention that item 17 also includes $550,000 to fund the long-term financing for the airport T-hangars. That'll pay off the outstanding temporary notes for that project. And we've wrapped all of these together as one issue so that we can save on the financing of these projects, so the issuance costs and so forth. So I'll invite Mr. Tharp to come up and give you a synopsis of the work that's going to be done.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. As staff talked about this bond moving forward, we thought this would be a really good time to take just 2 or 3 minutes and do a little bit of explanation as to what this really means to this Rock Creek Development Park. These funds, this $5 million, really comprises about a third of the total build out of these utilities. The $2.5 million that we're talking about for electric right now gets us a transformer at our southeast substation and gives us the ability to have electric in that Rock Creek development and serve a certain amount of customers. A full build out of our electric at the end of the day is closer to about $7.1 million. The sewer, as it stands, would allow us again to get into the park and be ready for those customers as they show up. But it gets us basically from the lift station that we have there at Love's Travel Plaza to about 27th Street and then across Rock Creek into the park. The full build out goes on to Kingman Road south and up Kingman Road and crosses Montana again. So moving on to the water, the $1 million, this one is a little different, honestly. We're talking very hard. Our city crews are looking at tackling a lot of this work. Depending on timing, there's some real possibilities that $1 million could get the water done. The estimate for that is really, honestly, $3 million if it was all contracted out. So that helps give you and everybody else some understanding of how valuable our city crews can be at that point in time. There again, that's not making promises. What that does is says if the timing works out and our crews are not dedicated to other infrastructure problems, that a lot of that build out hopefully will get done by then. The water also comprises a couple of other phases, both a pump station which was set on 23rd Street and a new water tower. There's another about $3.5 million in those projects that at some point will likely be necessary to provide all of the fire pressures, fire protection pressures, and those types of things that we're going to need. There again, the reason that we wanted to take a minute, this is kind of an overview of what that looks like. The reason we wanted to take a minute is everybody's really excited about this project, and we don't want to curb that enthusiasm in any way, shape, or form. At the same point in time, we want people to understand that $5 million is a big number. To everybody in this room, it's a big number, but it's not enough to do everything that we've got to do. Patience is key, with what we're dealing with here. If we have a tenant, things change dramatically, actually. But until we have that tenant, both your charge, and I know how you all feel about that, and the charge of staff is to be as prudent as we possibly can with those dollars. And so that's what our attempt is here, and why we wanted to take just a little bit for people to understand that we are moving forward. Sometimes it never seems fast enough to those people that are out there watching us, but we believe we're doing all the right things at this point in time.
Perfect.
Questions I can answer, or?
Questions for Mr. Tharp? I don't believe so. Thank you. Mr. Byrd?
Again, what is before you in these three items is $5,550,000 worth of general obligation bonds, comprised of $2.5 million of electric improvements, $1 million of water improvements, $1.5 million in sewer improvements, $550,000 to bond the airport T-hangars, which is a project that's been done for a few years now. That will retire the temporary notes that we currently have on those T-hangars. Any questions for me or Mr. Arterberry or Mr. Ellsworth?
Mr. Byrd?
Yes, sir.
I'd just like to point out that we just heard the 95% completion of the engineering plans, and just for the folks that may be listening in, We are sizing the lines, the sewer lines, the water lines, and the power out there to not only serve the industrial park, but just to be able to serve a considerable amount south of the interstate for future development. So we anticipate growth in the area. Hopefully, we're going to fill up the industrial park quickly, and then we'll have to expand even more. And we've identified a property that can expand to have not expended any funds towards that can be used for either industrial or residential down in that area. So this is a continuance of that plan, and this will get us closer to where we'll be able to service that area down there.
That's absolutely correct. We are looking forward, and the leadership of this community has been looking forward for a long time now. You'll remember that when the East Side Interceptor was installed a few years ago, that was sized large enough to be able to pick up this property as we grow, and that of course is wastewater that I'm talking about, to be able to pick up that additional flow that this property includes. So yeah, the city is looking forward, using its engineers to help design this project so that we can continue to grow in that direction as the community is ready to grow.
Yeah, thank you.
Additional questions or comments?
Just to add to Commissioner Jorgensen's comments, which I appreciate, I also look at this as a major investment, and when I look at that, I always think about a return on investment as a critical number we need to be looking at too. And Mr. Tharp, I think you outlined this about the utilities. Of course, if we get a tenant out there, these utilities will be purchased by these new tenants, so it's going to be a return on our money for investment here, and it's not just like it's free utilities. I mean, it's going to get our money back. It may take a while, but we'll get it back eventually on these items we mentioned here. So yes, I appreciate your comments.
And in the meantime, when a tenant arrives, we're creating jobs.
Yep, ultimately, you're right. A lot of periphery benefits to this, you're right.
Additional questions or comments for this particular item? We're going to take each item individually, although it was kind of a collective presentation that Mr. Byrd gave us. We do want to take those individually. So is there a motion for the request for approval authorizing the issuance of GO bonds listed in item 15?
Madam Mayor,
Commissioner.
I move that we approve the ordinance authorizing the issuance of general obligation bonds.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion among commissioners? If not, we will proceed to vote.
How do you vote, Commissioner Graves?
Yes.
Commissioner Jorgensen?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Commissioner Skidmore?
Yes.
Mayor Kaler?
And I vote yes. Motion carries. Next to item 16 on the agenda, which would include a motion that would approve the resolution authorizing the construction of certain improvements to the sewage system and authorizing GO bonds to provide financing for such improvements. Is there such a motion?
Madam Mayor,
Commissioner?
I move to approve the resolution as described in item 16 of the agenda.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded that we would approve the resolution authorizing construction of certain improvements to the sewage system and authorizing GO bonds to provide financing for such improvements. Is there any discussion among commissioners? If not, we will proceed to vote.
How do you vote, Commissioner Jorgensen?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Commissioner Skidmore?
Yes.
Commissioner Graves?
Yes.
Mayor Kaler?
And I vote yes. Motion carries. That moves us on to item 17 on the agenda. A motion would include the approval of resolution authorizing the public sale of GO bonds, which includes some airport T-hanger temporary notes. Is there a motion?
Madam Mayor, I'll make the motion we approve item number 17.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the resolution authorizing the public sale of GO bonds. Is there any discussion among commissioners?
I just want to point out, I appreciate the fact that we're able to have this size of a bond to combine these things, and Mr. Byrd for bringing in that $550,000 too, saving money with one issuance rather than multiple, and then also for that higher dollar amount, we'll be able to have larger banks competing for our money. Is that fair assessment to get a better price on the interest rate as well.
That's a fair assessment, and the thanks needs to go to our two finance advisors here, our finance advisor and bond counsel, because they definitely pointed us in that direction.
That's good. I don't know if they want to share anything, that our high-powered financiers, they love.
We're
we
so
love-
glad that you drove down. Please come and talk to us, and actually, not to us, talk to our citizens
Talk
and
to
tell
you.
them why that this is so important.
Well, it's, as you mentioned, Mr. Skidmore, by structuring the bond issue to include both the financing for the utilities for the industrial park as well as the airport hangar, to combine it into one, you will save issuance costs, several thousands of dollars of issuance costs, and you will likewise, you'll make it more attractive. I suspect we'll probably be attracting bids from, Chicago and Dallas, whereas if we were just selling a smaller issue, we might only be attracting bids from the Kansas City region. So there's a couple of benefits from doing that. You're right.
Any questions for Mr.
Mr.
Arterberry?
Arterberry, when do you anticipate the offering?
The sale is, currently we anticipate it to occur on April 5th. So right now, we're planning on opening bids at 11 in the morning for both series of bonds, and then report back to the commission that evening with the final interest rates and final sizing calculations.
Additional questions for Mr. Arterberry or Mr. Ellsworth?
And even though it's one issuance, they're able to separate out the bank qualified versus non-qualified.
Right.
debt,
Both of them will be 10-year issues, but there'll be a $5 million Series A and a $550,000 Series B. Yeah.
Okay, very good.
And what have you seen the rates doing in the past several weeks?
Actually, rates have been, with the exception of today when there was a little bit of a spike up in rates have been actually trending down over the last few weeks. I think there was some uncertainty after the election that seems to be settling down a little bit. If this issue were to sell today, the larger issue I would expect would carry an interest rate somewhere in the low to mid 2% range, and a little bit higher for the smaller issue because of the different tax treatment.
It's really being smarter with our money. We appreciate that.
And I guess one more question.
Sure.
If we would happen to come into the funds in order to pay these off, is there penalties for paying it ahead of schedule or prepaying?
There's on municipal bonds, there's usually a call feature, which means you can't redeem the bonds prior to a certain date. On this issue, with the 10-year maturity, I suspect we'll probably be looking at a 7-year call feature. So in 7 years, you could pay the bonds off anytime thereafter without a penalty. If you should happen to come into a big chunk of money before that date, there is a way to take that money and set it aside into an irrevocable escrow account and dedicate it towards paying off those bonds, called defeasing the bond. So that could be done even in advance of that call date. It's a little more expensive to do that, but it could be accomplished.
I see. Okay.
Great question. Any additional questions?
Just a quick clarification, and maybe Mr. Byrd should address this, but as far as the debt service, we're using our extra half-cent sales tax to cover this debt service, which is coming in at approximately an extra $100,000 a month. Is that
that's
a rough number?
Yeah, that's probably a low number, but yes, we are seeing the half-cent sales tax come in very strong for right now, and I don't see any reason to expect anything different in the near future, at least. But yes, the sales tax that was voted on in 2015 is what will be used to pay these utility bonds off, not the T-hangers, but
Right.
the utility bonds. So
That's great. It's just great to see everything working the way it's supposed to be, like we planned 2 years ago.
isn't it nice when a plan comes together?
Yes,
Yeah.
we're not there yet, but we're
Yeah,
getting a little
and
better every
very grateful to the community
Yeah.
for voting that sales tax in, so we can move forward with general obligation bonds to extend our utility infrastructure.
That's great. Good point.
Yeah, I think it can't be highlighted enough that this is not the people up here. It's not our industrial park. It's not the people sitting out here, their industrial park. It's every citizen's industrial park.
Absolutely.
And we appreciate them being a partner. and moving this community forward.
Correct.
And they do that with that half-cent sales tax, so we appreciated that and appreciate it still today. There is a motion on the floor. There's been a second. Is there anything else that needs to be discussed before we call the vote? All right, let's proceed to vote.
How do you vote, Commissioner Skidmore?
Yes.
Commissioner Graves?
Yes.
Commissioner Jorgensen?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Mayor Kaler?
And I vote yes, motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, item 18 on the agenda.
Request for approval of Sega contract for electrical extension design and construction bid.
This contract is a part of the Rock Creek Business Park project. I believe, Mr. Tharp, will you be addressing this matter? I will. Great.
You have before you what is a contract with Sega Incorporated to do the design, engineering, and also the bid process on, we'll call it the first phase of the electric for to the extension to the new industrial park. We have used Sega for a number of projects over several years. We have already signed engineering contracts to take care of the water and the wastewater side of this. What we're asking is your approval of this contract with Sega so that we can move forward. And I'd answer any questions you all have regarding the contract.
Commissioners, are there questions for Mr. Tharp? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion if there is one.
Madam Mayor,
Commissioner?
I move to approve the request for approval of Sega as a contract for electrical design in the new industrial park.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve Sega's contract for electrical extension design and construction bid. Is there any discussion on the motion? If not, we will proceed to vote.
How do you vote, Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Commissioner Jorgensen?
Yes.
Commissioner Graves?
Yes.
Commissioner Skidmore?
Yes.
Mayor Kaler?
And I vote yes, motion carries.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you. Next, maybe we've had a long meeting just because we don't really want to do number 19 on the agenda. Next item on the agenda.
Recognition and presentation of plaque to Chuck Bigham, Information Technology Director, upon his upcoming retirement.
After 12 years with the city, Chuck Bingham will be retiring at the end of this month, and we will miss him greatly. We will have comments by Mrs. Lee and by our city manager, Neinstead, and then back to me.
Because we weren't sure if we were going to have our esteemed manager back, we prepared some other things, and so then Richard's going to come and wrap up, as he should, of course. I get to start partially, I think, because I was actually Chuck's next-door neighbor there for a while when I first came back, and before he was hired as an employee of the city, he actually worked for the city as a contract person, and we were almost as close as I guess we could be. There wasn't really anybody closer to our two offices.
Yes.
And so I had the privilege of getting to know Chuck when I first came back in 2002. But we certainly enjoyed his time as a contract person, obviously, because then we asked him to become a permanent full-time employee in March of 2005. And we went from one person to now his having a whole team of people, and we're thrilled about that. I asked some other folks for some comments, and Chuck's, while quiet oftentimes, is also very cheerful and always friendly. And that can't really be underestimated, because there are times when we're all working in a stressful environment when cheerfulness goes a long way to helping break up the day just a bit. In addition, I think collectively all the department directors would say that Chuck's leadership through the years moved us forward in our technology. Everything from one person remarked on we didn't have voicemail before, and while some people don't like voicemail, it certainly can allow for us to be more productive, and it certainly makes sure we don't miss a call when we're in meetings, and often that is part of what has to happen. We also have our own servers. We don't have an outside contractor with, I don't even know what the name of that big machine was, but the big, you probably know all that. I don't know it.
AS400.
That was it. The AS400 that we used to have. In addition, Chuck has always fostered a very helpful attitude, and that has continued as well through the folks that he has brought to the city to be helpful, whether it's a minor problem, that they know that we could probably Google that answer, to a real big problem that they need to definitely get on, always being responsive. And while most people think of this as being kind of an 8 to 5 job, that's not always true, because things can go bump in the night during the evening hours on the weekend, and certainly to make our daytimes productive for those of us, for example, who work at City Hall, they have had to work evenings or weekend time. One department director remarked that Chuck has been instrumental in righting the ship on occasion when we've maybe gone awry. But we have gone from just having big system issues to having so many personal computers at our desktops to having multiple computers with laptops and tablets, and then as the advent of phones and being able to get all of our mail servers about 3 or 4 ways, which is about what all of the directors have. Chuck and team have been instrumental in all of that, as well as having internet provision to the industrial park partners, the school district, the county, and others, and that has been having a utility in that way is important service that we've offered to our customers, and I know recently he's been visiting with some of those customers. So for all of those reasons, we're reluctant to see him go, but certainly wish him well. And his wife Jackie is here, and it'd be great if she came up, because Richard always invites the spouse to come up and get a little bit of a pat on the back for the time that you got called up.
As they should. No.
Now I'm in trouble. So I know Richard will want to make some comments, and he'll want you to come stand up here as well.
It's okay. Wendy, if you weren't going to do it, I would have.
Oh, see.
Okay, yeah.
Take the blame.
So, little known fact, I'm not the first instead that I think Chuck knew. Chuck, in a previous life, did softwares for co-ops, and I think along the way ran across my father, and I think he found me to be a lot less intense than Pop could be at times. Anyway, but that's kind of a little known fact. You never know where your life is going to intersect or how that's going to intersect with others. But after that, that's when Chuck came to the city, right? So 12 years ago. So Chuck and I have been together 10 years. I appreciate what you've done, where you've taken us. We've been able to get the broadband in. You helped devise replacing our computers on a routine basis. I know that when things broke down, you were here. We can count on that. And I would be remiss if I didn't say thank you, Jackie. Thank you. Jackie's been as much a part of our family as what Chuck has. In fact, sometimes Jackie would talk more than Chuck.
She's the life of the visit.
But government service isn't easy, and you came from the private sector. Government service is not easy for the employee, and it's not easy for the spouse. So I appreciate what you both have done this week to help make IT a success at the City of Ottawa. And I appreciate the team that you've built, of these 3 young men who are the future of our city. So,
Thank you, Richard.
thank you.
As Richard alluded to, Chuck's team is here tonight, and I do wonder if any of them would like to address. I know that they are used to being behind the scenes. I recognize that, like, Matt won't even look at me at this point, and that's okay. But if there are individuals from his team, I would certainly like to hear from him. Before, we're not going to let you just have the mic that easy, Chuck. I mean, you fixed that mic so many times.
I agree with everything Wendy and Richard said. I want to add a couple things.
Tell us who you are.
I'm Paul Summer, IT manager here for the city. I've been here 10 years. But I just want to thank Chuck for really allowing us to grow and try things. And some of the things that we've accomplished, like the captioning you see on the channel, that's rare. There's not a lot of communities in the state that have that. And Chuck was pivotal in getting that done. And he's always let us kind of run with ideas. So I just want to thank him for that. Thank you.
All right, Matt's behind you. Matt.
I thought you were shy.
About the opposing view now, right?
I just want to thank Chuck. Chuck was part of the team that hired me here in 2006, and I've been looking for a job like this for quite some time, and lo and behold, I came across the city of Ottawa, interviewed, met this great group of people, great team. He allowed me on, and this has become a family to me, and I really appreciate it. He really changed my life, and I can't think of a better person to serve under, and we'll miss him greatly.
Oh,
so.
That's super sweet.
Great.
All right, good.
Thanks for all you do.
Well, Chuck, before we let you have the mic, we certainly want to read. We did get you a plaque here that you can hang in a place of honor, hopefully. And it does read, in recognition of continuous service to the City of Ottawa 2005 to 2017, this plaque is presented to, it says Charles Bingham, but I just don't think I could ever really say that. I mean,
Charles?
Chuck, yes, as a memento of the city's appreciation, and it truly is just a small memento of how much we appreciate what you've done with the city. I met you at Rotary, and I think it was Rotary, maybe it was a little bit before that, but I always know what kind of day Chuck is having by the way he says my name, and I've only known one other person literally in my life, and it was my pastor, that I knew what kind of day he was having by the way he says my name. And Chuck will either say it in this really kind of upbeat tone or not in the upbeat tone. And you just know that's what kind of day Chuck's having. So I always appreciate that, and I'm going to miss it so much. And so randomly just, maybe stop by or call me and just say my name in the upbeat tone. Jackie, can you have him do that for me, please? Okay. Okay, yes! Have Jackie call me. Yes! Please, come forward. And it's heavy.
Wow.
I know, right? I want to shake your hand, though. Yeah. You gotta look official. How many times have you taken this picture? Like this, right here.
Always been on the other end.
Exactly. That's why I'm making you do all of this, just like this. Yes. Okay. Now we do want to hear from you, Chad.
Thank you so much.
Truly. Thank you.
Those comments are hard to top. I knew I'd get old, but not this quick. So I don't know if any of you are experiencing that, but never thought I'd be able to retire, and that's not the case. I'm going to be able to. Everything worked out for the better. How'd I get here? Well, I went to college at the University of Kansas. It's my turn to rub it in. Yes. And I paid all my own way.
Matt, this is where you turn it back to me and I go, yes! Awesome! Way to go, Rock Chalk!
Yeah, we've heard the other side, haven't we?
Yes, Sarah? We've heard it so many times.
But I was able to pay all my own way to the University of Kansas by working at King Radio. And there was a branch here in Ottawa. So people have known about King. And I got a degree there in electrical engineering and computers. From there, I went to Wichita to work for National Cash Register, NCR. And I forgot to say, while at KU, we had punch cards. If any of you are old enough to remember the punch card. And while at NCR in Wichita, that makes the bank, the ATMs and those kinds of things, we made big storage systems then. And I remember I was a product manager on a storage system that was the size of a refrigerator, about this big, and Our high-end system stored 4 gigabytes. Now you can get that, and it was $120,000 retail for 4 gig. And the last one we sold was to a bank on some island, so go figure. And now you can get, now that for a couple bucks, you can get that on the thumb drive.
Yes.
So that's to show you how things have changed. From NCR, I went to work for Compact Computer in Houston, product planner, and my highlight there was I was a product planner, and we put a CD-ROM on a laptop. So that was a first in the industry. People could not have to lug their manuals around to work on nuclear reactors and things, and could have it all on a disk or disk. That was a highlight there. And I worked on the West Coast for a hard drive manufacturer for a while, and then came back to Austin, worked for Dell Computers as a product planner, and did some great things there before coming back home to Kansas to work on the family farm. And I ran from that, got computer work at through the co-op, and I landed here in 2001 as an independent contractor, and as Wendy said, was hired in 2005. And what a lot of changes that we've seen. I remember when I came on board, we used to do the commission meetings with a tripod and a camera with VHS tape in it, if you remember VHS tape, and broadcast that out to the channel. Now we have these cameras in the ceiling. There's 3 of them, and they're pan, tilt, and zoom. So I don't know if we've told them this, Matt, but they can zoom down to see what you're looking at on your little unit there.
Go with it.
And I know we were looking at that in Lawrence at one of the places that broadcast to get some ideas, and the operator said one time he saw one of the commissioners on eBay. So be careful. But you all know how the government access channel's grown over the years, and our technology is just overwhelming. It's hard to keep up with it all. You know, we've gone from laptops to tablets, your iPads or your Androids, and smartphones. There's more power in that than the spaceships that went to the moon. So it's really been, here at Ottawa for the city, it's really been a challenging time. It's been very diversified, a lot of different things to learn. I've never had as much responsibility in a job, never had as much excitement, and never worked with better people all around. Not only department heads, but employees and commissioners. And I'd just like to say special thanks to Scott Burrs, because he brought me on board, helped bring me on board, convinced me I wanted to work for government, never had before. A big thank you to Scott, and I really appreciate Richard as my boss and the learning that he's given me as well. So with that, we'll move into retirement and see how quick, retirement at the end of this month, we'll see how quick Jackie can get sick of me. And
Where's your first vacation?
Yeah.
We can zoom in and see that you did that. I just want you to know again later.
April 1st. Got a lot of things to do around home. We live on 5 acres and have a big garden and lots to mow and lots of trees to water. So maybe I'll get my turn at it now instead of her doing all that work, huh? And there's always plenty of things to do. So again, I appreciate everybody here. Thanks for this plaque, and especially thanks to everybody that's allowed me to have employment here, and all the great comments.
We appreciate your service, certainly.
Thank you.
Well, Chuck, you've got to stick around for a couple more bullet points, 14 of them. No, I'm just joking. Next, we are moving on to report by the city manager, and it's going to be a surprise who talks.
Well, I'm going to talk. It's not very often that as interim I get to do it in front of the manager, but I did make a couple of notes that I knew he would have said. if he were being the manager tonight. So, one, obviously, a significant meeting as far as additional progress for the industrial park, our development park in the borrowings. As you mentioned, the plans are nearing completion, and then we'll have significant steps forward with bidding, and there'll be additional meetings with the community coming forward and certainly the neighbors. But the borrowing sets the stage, passing those actions tonight. I did want to say, though, in lines of that, because that's a significant effort that the whole community is really behind. The capital improvements program is on the Planning Commission's agenda for next Wednesday. And so while people are very focused about what we're doing towards the development park, it's not the only infrastructure that's important to moving the community forward. And if folks want to come hear about that, that public hearing is next Wednesday at 7 p.m. for the Planning Commission, and doesn't get as much press sometimes, some of the other work, and yet it does need to have its attention paid to it, and all of the departments have participated in putting those items on the agenda so that they can ultimately come forward to the governing body as well, and come early enough in the year to be taken into account along with this project and the rest of your budgeting steps. Did also want to say we're glad that our city manager has returned. On behalf of the staff, we regret that he had to leave and extend our condolences in the loss his family has suffered. But certainly we're always glad when he's back with us. And I am just a little bit more than normal because we had a little bit more than normal activity this time while he was gone. And so I missed him just a bit more, and we're glad that he had safe travels and returned back. But that's all I have.
Great, thank you. That moves us on to reports by city commissioners. We're going to begin with Commissioner Graves.
I don't have anything tonight.
Commissioner Skidmore?
I have nothing.
Commissioner Reed?
Well, I have a couple things, actually. From this evening's agenda, some of the numbers that were given, both from the National Quilters Day and the March for Meals and the meals for the kids in the community, those numbers, to me, all three of those events are just staggering. And kind of personal to me in a couple ways. In our own family farm, we have one of the quilt blocks, and so I enjoy that all the time, so I really appreciate that. The March for Meals, I've participated in helping go out and deliver some of those a couple years, and really changes your perspective on things. And then thirdly, I never thought of us necessarily, our family, as being low income. We're certainly not rich, but I never described us as low income, but we used a home daycare for many years, and they don't make very much money, and so that home daycare provider actually took advantage of the lunch bunch for our own kids, and so I very much appreciate it for that. And as you say, I think it's not just for the low income, and we shouldn't stigmatize it that way. So, and then lastly, Chuck, I just appreciate all the work that you've put in, and I've seen a different side of you with a puppy in a puppy class, and so I'm sure you'll look forward to that as well. So congratulations to you and Jackie.
Commissioner Jorgensen?
I guess along the lines of Chuck, a few years ago, the city saw a need with our industrial partners out in the North Industrial Park that they had ineffective use of internet or source of internet out there, and several of them were even using cellular hotspots in order to get internet connections. And we saw that as a big deficiency in what we could offer to the community or to our industrial partners, and what did limit any future growth in our industrial park. And so a group of people went to talk to the internet providers that were able to service the park, and found out they were uninterested in doing so. And so Chuck and his team were instrumental in providing the technological expertise in order to establish a broadband internet utility for our community. And it's something that is very, very necessary for industry to have a reliable source of internet connection in the city. And speaking as an executive officer of a company that uses the public utility, internet utility, I have to say that it is very quality service that is provided. I know that the county and the hospital and several of the institutions in our community use that. And is service that's good quality, and it's also service that we're able to provide out in our new industrial park as in marketing as well. So, Chuck, thank you for your expertise in getting that utility established. That is a very big thing for our community, and we appreciate you. We're going to miss you. So, thank you.
On to reports by the mayor. I think that everyone should do it on Chuck just one more time. So I'm going to. I was just thinking about how Matt had said that the city of Ottawa has really become a family to him. And one of my very most favorite pictures of my oldest daughter, Chuck took. And it was out here in the parking lot, and she was still in a car seat. And if you don't know, my daughter's a sassy 14-year-old now, and it sometimes gets me through the day, that picture. And so I appreciate that really you brought a memory to me that I could never be replaced. And it's little things like that that make the city of Ottawa and their employees the best employees that we have. That they don't only just care about doing their job right during the day, during the 8 to 5 hours, or the hours of 8 to 5, but they care about everybody after that. They care about people on the weekends, and they really do become part of a family. And so I appreciate you being part of our family. We will miss you. Please be one of like those long-lost uncles that comes back every once in a while and brings lollipops to everybody. That's what we really want. Or, bring a puppy. Just call us. You and Jackie, bring a puppy over. So we appreciate your service. Truly we do. And when a family member leaves, we miss them. And so please don't be a stranger. And when Jackie doesn't have you out looking for somewhere to be in Texas, come back into City Hall. I know, I can see it, but we will miss you. And we are blessed many times over in our community for your service and the service of your wife, so thank you. For announcements, we do have a study session on the 6th of March here at 4 p.m. If you are unable to attend that personally, which you're always welcome to here at City Hall, you can always watch it on Facebook Live, or you can stream it afterwards to see what your City Commission is doing for you, the citizens. Then we do have the NLC Congressional City Conference in Washington, D.C., March 11 through 15, March 15th. So we will have no study session on March 13th because we'll be in Washington, D.C. Having that all come before us, is there anything else that needs to come before the commission tonight? If not, is there a motion to adjourn?
Madam Mayor, I move we adjourn.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.